Hey, how's it going? My name's Lenny, aka Hanzilla, and I want to share with you today my 5 favorite pieces of gear that I own right now. Let's go! First up, we've got the Dreadbox Nymphes. So I hope I'm saying that right, Dreadbox. But I love this thing. It's a 6-voice polyphonic synthesizer, and it's one of the cool things about it is it's powered via USB. So you don't need like an extra power supply for it. I kind of like that. If you've seen some of my other videos, you know that I have a hard time kind of keeping my workspace tidy. So the less cords for me, the better. And I just like that, like you can use it via USB. Like it's just a one-stop shop for the hookup and for the connection and stuff, because I typically go MIDI over USB. So 6 voices of polyphony, and in a desktop unit for under $500 easily, and possibly even more depending on where you find it. Because I think I got mine in like the $400 and something range, but man, it's a steal for that, like this much synthesizer, well, in the thing. So yeah, it's a great piece of gear. I'm a big sucker for just like some instantaneous sound you can typically get out of a synth. I'm not very big on like massive sound design. If I am doing that, like sometimes I find myself going more into software than like maybe like a really nice poly. So sorry, Polybrute. But yeah, it's got great sound. So you can kind of hear, I just have some random patch queued up right here. And I was in the triangle, now it's a square wave going into the triangle here. And just the filter sounds awesome on this thing. I'll come off the resonance a little bit, but and you've got built-in reverb on the thing. You can kind of hear it a little bit in there. One of the bones that people have to pick with the Nymphes is its interface, because it's got the sliders, but it's not knob per function. There's a shift. So you get a lot of stuff like I guess the best way to put it is like, and this is probably my best understanding of it right now, is like you have all the functions down here that are slider operated right away. So like how you saw that I was messing with the waveform like this, or coming off the sub oscillator, noise. But that's pretty simple. And then you hit the shift button, and then that starts to control other aspects of the synth. So like if I hold shift here, now it's all the pink stuff. So now I'm into glide. And so it's pretty simple. So like without reading the manual, you've already tackled like a vast amount of the functions by just knowing that you're controlling the open stuff with just by moving the sliders, and then the shift button controls all the pink stuff. And then from there, like it's a simple like muscle memory / manual reference to get the rest of the stuff, but it's not too much more intricate than that. So looks a little daunting at first, but it's not bad. And like I said, just a 6-voice poly for under $500. That's super small. Like here's my hands. I mean, not that my hands are super big, but you know, I'm a 6-foot dude with normal size hands, and I can cover the Nymphes with it. So yeah, highly recommend this one. I use it for one of the tracks on my single on Bandcamp called The Voyage, part of my Van 1977 Part 2 project. It's a 2-track project, but it kind of has this like, it's like a clicky synth in one of those tracks that I kind of gradually am turning up the decay to make it sound a little bit more exciting. I think it's decay. I'd have to remember. I might be thinking of my Slim Fatty, but this is definitely on that track. So cool synth, huge bang for your buck is why I like it, and really good instantaneous like sounds from it. So Dreadbox Nymphes, check it out. Next up, we've got the Arturia Minibrute. So this has been around for a while. I think it's been probably, I think it might have come out 2013. This is actually my second one. I had one. It's funny. I've had one for years. So if you know anything about me, I've played with synths for a long time, but up until maybe a few years ago, I was definitely your presets only kind of person. Didn't know much better than that. And yeah, until I like recently started learning stuff years ago or several years ago, that's how it kind of went. So with that in mind, this didn't have any presets. And so I didn't know the first thing about subtractive synthesis. And so this thing kind of sat around like I couldn't really coax good sounds out of it. Now, with that said, this is a very controversial synth in the sense that a lot of people think the filter sounds too harsh, that it's just that this thing's a little junky. At least that's what I've heard. And but I don't know. My style tends to be a little bit more kind of, I don't want to say gnarly, but like I do like these. I do like harsher sounds. In addition to what I had said about the Nymphes, that I like the like vintagey sounds, but this just sounds awesome. So this is kind of going a little bit lighter on things, but it gets out of hand fast. So look at that, the resonance on this one. And then if I start going on the ultra saw, but I just love that. I love like, and then you throw in an arpeggiator, and then you get. Oh, you know what? I forget that I'm synced up with Ableton right now, but. I love this sound, and it's just, I mean, this one is basically pretty knob per function. So I do, and then we gotta get the boom fire. That's where it gets really nasty. So I said this actually on a Miles Away channel, because I think he had put this as one of his bottom tier synths, but to my opinion is it's like a salt and vinegar potato chip. You don't have somebody that kind of feels like okay about them, like they're either kind of like, well, this is too gnarly, like I don't like it, or you have somebody like me that really, really enjoys it. So as someone who has bought a Minibrute, sold it, and then got another one again, and it's like one of my older synths in my collection, I absolutely love this thing. So if you're looking for something with like real gritty sounds that might not necessarily sound like a lot of stuff, and the other thing too is like, having had like most of the Brute line from Arturia, is like some of their more modern stuff, you can get like intensity out of it, and there's probably a little bit more like forgiveness with it. But I just love the nastiness of this one. Like, I don't think anything else that they have really matches with it. So it is kind of like what's the best way to put it? It's kind of not a one-trick pony, but it is like I guess it's more of a taste-specific thing, but it definitely fits for me, and that's why I love it. next up, we've got one of my favorite pieces of gear. That's not it's not actually a synth. Well, it kind of is a synth, but it does so much. It's basically it's the brain, the piece that, like, if I didn't have a laptop and I didn't have anything else in my setup, this is probably like my lone keeper of my whole setup, just because of everything that it can do. So this is the Synthstrom Deluge here, and it's great. It's got so much connectivity. It is so intuitive, and it's just got some great stuff. So this is by no means like a full deep dive into the Deluge, but I'll at least talk about why I love it so much. So first off is just how fast you can come up with something, right? So you've got your synth, basically you have your whole song set up, then you've got clips that you can go in and just create tracks so quickly on the fly. So right now I'm here with a blank project, and if I just go into a clip here and I just do the standard number one preset here on the synth. You know what? Let's change the synth. Let's see what this does. So all of a sudden already, so I got a pattern that I just drummed up real quick by hitting these. If I want to kind of spruce it up a little bit more by adding some notes. It kind of sounds kind of funky, but then look, I just go right in, I go right to another track. I'm going to go kit for a drum. And then the third track here at MIDI, I have my OB6 hooked up, so let's go to MIDI track 6. Somewhat of a track, just like within a few seconds of doing it. So that's what I just love about this thing. You can just, like, it's such a great sketch pad. It's such a great, just inspiring piece that is portable, right? So it's battery powered, so you can take this thing anywhere. If you see another size comparison, I'm obviously using my hands again, but you know, it's not too large. Like, you can pack this. For myself, I actually got a laptop bag for it, and that allows me to kind of pack it up and toss it in a backpack. You can charge it or charge it via USB, but there's also you can use a 9-volt center negative power supply to keep it powered and charged. But without that, it still will power on as well. You've got MIDI connectivity, so if you are more like in the DAW-less realm, then you can absolutely sync other MIDI devices with it. I personally use the USB MIDI feature, and so it just allows to connect all kinds of stuff. So you can see here on the Deluge that you can just, it's an endless possibility of the tracks that you can add. And it's literally like I said, as you go, you're just kind of punching in notes. There's a scale feature that's real simple to do. The other cool thing is I'm on a waiting list, and right now is this, we have this standard, I don't know what the terminology might be, but it's the screen that they have, and some people like it. Some people have thought they wish that it had a little bit more. Well, Synthstrom actually made an OLED retrofit for this, so I'm actually on one of their batches of the waiting list to get that done. But how cool is that? They didn't just make a MK2 Deluge, which they probably could have done, and people would have bought it in droves, but they actually improved it by allowing you to just send it in. So I'm paying like $100 to send it in, and I'm going to get it retrofitted with an OLED screen that I can see a lot more functionality on it. So just overall, a great company that's constantly updating this thing. It's everything kind of like works with what people find the most intuitive. I find this thing incredible. So it's got its own sounds, and there's people out there that do incredible videos on this, just, you know, and they're long videos with like multiple series on how in depth this thing gets. But it's just such a good piece of gear, and I highly, highly recommend it. Next up, I've got probably what I would say is maybe it's top 5 for sure, of course, because it's in this video, but it might actually be the top. I don't know. It's a tough one. It's a toss up between this one and one other one, but the Novation Summit is awesome. It is, it has, from my understanding, it has digital oscillators, but then it has an analog filter. And this is a bitimbral synthesizer. And it's basically, from my limited understanding of it, it is 2 Novation peaks. So it's got this great decent sized keyboard here. And I just love how fast you can drum up like a sound here. So like right now I just have like an initialized patch and just getting some, just going on the filter, like just coming off a little bit. It's got onboard reverb, delay, chorus, distortion. And so, I mean, here I am just kind of noodling right off of it's just, yeah, I love how fast you can drum up a sound. The arpeggiator's right there. And I know I've seen some people kind of having a little bit of a bone to pick with like the mod matrix and stuff like that. I mean, there is a little bit of menu in there, but I tend to find it pretty easy to go in there and adjust, LFOs, aftertouch, that sort of stuff. It's real easy right when you go into the mod menu. So lots of knobs for a lot of stuff that you'd go to create quick patches. Lots of stuff to go in and create quick patches, but then it just sounds so good. I think that's my favorite thing about it, is it's so instantaneous, especially with having those onboard effects just to the right, and it just comes like it allows you to come up with stuff so quick. One of the things I've been diving into this lately, which differentiates it from the Novation Peak, is the multi patches you can do. Which are really cool because you can either layer them, split them. But I actually had just done a recent video where, like on social media, where I did the shape, like for Halloween, I did the shape lurks video, And I actually, for two of the sounds in that where like things start to really kick in, I used the Summit for two of those sounds on a multi-timbral split patch, and it's just so fun. It's just this synthesizer, like that's my favorite things. It sounds so good right off the bat. It feels so immediate, and there's just so much you can do with it. So much sound design possibilities with it. So yeah, that's the Novation Summit. Highly recommended. Whoops. So here is, between this and the Novation Summit, probably my absolute favorite. And I have a module, but it's the Prophet 5. So this synth is as advertised. Of course, it's a legendary synth that people rave about. Some of the things that I hear are bones to pick with it is it doesn't have a lot of modulation capability, no built-in effects, no arpeggiator, nothing like that. But boy, for just straight up sound, it's like no other. Right now I have just an initialized patch, and again, just like simple stuff of just coming off the filter with like a little bit of resonance, and then boom, right there. And then once you start messing with like getting into the LFO, just, oh man, that's a frequency, but let's go filter. And then even just like once you get the little release going on there, oh, here on the amp envelope. It's just instantaneous goodness. I'm sure, like, you know, as I like to disclaim, I'm not the biggest keyboard shredder, but boy, like, you can just really get some stuff going off of this right away, and it just absolutely sounds incredible. I am certainly not doing this synth justice with like the mini little sound demo I did, but it is just absolutely awesome. And I kind of fall into the school of thought, like with something that's so, when you're dealing with analog, I feel like if you start modulating enough, it kind of starts to really blur the lines of like, can you just do that on a VST? Like, don't shoot me for saying that, but just kind of something that I feel. So I really think sometimes the magic with certain synths is like how they're going to sound with just like its oscillator and filter, and then going from there. So this is hands down. I said earlier, like with the Deluge, that'd be like my one piece of gear to keep if I had nothing else. If I had to keep one synth, it'd probably be this, just because it's such an awesome piece of gear. Thanks.